1. Hi everyone, Amit here from UPod. We're doing a short tutorial about weight bearing planks, forward, sideways and backwards. I'm going to take you through quite a few variations. You're going to have to choose which ones are appropriate for you, which ones are good for your clients. Different clients have different needs. I want to give you some ideas you can work with and also how to tie things together. We're at my studio, Pilates Junction. You can see behind me all the Pilates torture machines. Here we go. We're going to start in the Sphinx position. Okay, the reason I want to start here is because the idea of any plank is that you suspend the weight of the body and you feel the body all connected as one unit. Okay, so this is a nice preparation. It's a great strengthening exercise. We just go into a round back position and we push with the arms away from the ground. So we use the scapular muscles, the arm muscles, and we use the stomach and we use the hip extensors a little bit to round the tail and the pelvis as much as possible. And then we release. And again, round back, pushing away from the ground, pushing between the shoulder blades, lifting, rounding between the shoulder blades, the ribs curling into the body, the pelvis curls back. And then to make it a bit more challenging, we can keep the abdominals lifted as we bring the chest forward. So we don't collapse, we don't release, but we keep the muscular engagement. And then we round the back and we keep the muscular engagement as we transition back. The next step is the cat with the knees coming off, the floating cat. So notice that the knees are closer to the hands than in a normal cat position. The feet are flexed. We can either do it with a straight back or a round back position, which is also true to the front support that we're going to do in a second. So always choose what you think is most appropriate to your client at that moment in time, what would work best for them, what would serve them best. So it could be a straight back, floating and holding. Okay, so you want to make sure you're not locking the elbows. You want to make sure you're pushing yourself away from the ground as much as you can, and even a bit more than you think that you can, working your serratus muscles. And release, or the same thing with round back. Okay, so here the front of the ribs goes in and the tail curls under, and you do exactly the same. This might be a little bit more accessible to a lot of people, unless they have any back issues. Okay, so I'll do it again quickly. You round the back. Again, check that your elbows are not locking. Push yourself away from the ground as much as you can, and then float the knees just an inch away from the ground. And hold yourself there, pushing as far away from the ground, curling the tail between the legs as much as you can. And it's hard work. Next, we should be ready for a front support. So it's exactly the same thing. I will start with the round back variation. So I do the cat, I check the elbows, I push away from the ground. It's all the same basically, just in different variations. So you always have to tick the same boxes. But here, of course, you're going to have to make sure that your hips are not dropping down. So people would tend to collapse in the hips. They would tend to lift up because they're going to find it easier. So if you can take them back to the cat position and make sure that when they take the leg back, nothing changes in the spine. Okay, the pelvis does not lift further up, it doesn't drop down. Everything stays as it is, and you work in the same way as before to curl the tail between the legs and to push yourself away from the ground and suspend your weight. I'm going to shake the wrist for a moment. And then you can do the same with straight back, but I'm going to just show you a little variation which I really like, and it's quite challenging, which is transitioning between round back and straight back. Okay, so we start in the same way, round back, stretch the legs back, and here, without collapsing, we transition the spine into the straight back position. And then curl the tail in, drop the head, and back to the round back variation. Tail comes up, head comes up, the ribs change position, back to the straight, so on and so forth. So transitioning within the plank between round back and the straight spine position. Next we're going sideways, so choose whatever leg variation is most appropriate for yourself or your client. Going from this, which is probably easiest, stretching just the top leg, both legs straight with one leg in front. You can do whatever is better for you, top leg or bottom leg in front. Or if you want to make it really difficult, then both legs one on the other. Okay, I'll take a relatively easy position so I can talk comfortably, and we're going to lift up. Here, the alignment through the shoulder and into the rib cage is really important. People will tend to collapse, or they would tend to push too far. So you want to stay in the happy medium and then push yourself away from the ground. Okay, that's one thing, the relationship between the arm bone, the shoulder joint, and the rib cage, and the alignment through it. The other thing is actually thinking about all the different body parts that can help. So you've got the hip muscles, the waist muscles, the rib muscles, and the armpit muscles. They all help. Okay, so it's like a long arc, and all the parts are working regardless of what leg position you're taking. Okay, so that's really important. I'm going to do the other side for a moment. And we're going to take it further. So lifting up, again, whatever position you're in, you can then float the top leg. Okay, so there's an element of balance here as well. Obviously, the top leg is working, but it's just more difficult to sustain that. That's one thing you can do. The other thing, I was talking before about how the arm connects into the body, into the trunk. We can start moving around with that. So if you lift up and you rotate yourself, then you change the relationship between the arm bone and the trunk. And then when you recover, you bring it back to the start position. So changing the relationship and then returning back to the same place. Similarly, we can transition from a front support into a side support. So we're going to stretch the legs, make sure there's enough gap between your feet there, and then let the feet drop and rotate around. So you can see it's the same transition. Before we were just on the one arm, and now we're moving from two arms to one arm. I'll still face you, I'll do the same side. So I rotate around the joint and I come to support it in a good alignment. Again, remember, the armpit muscles, ribs, waist and leg muscles, they're all working. And I really like this variation as well. The transition from front to side is a really nice preparation that can be followed by just doing the side variation. And I'll do this one, which is also one of my favorites, which has some momentum to it. So we reach up and we come back down with control. And it's like throwing a ball and coming back with control. Everything needs to engage together to support this. And coming back down, and then you can stay there and go down and up. Okay, if you want to challenge that further, going down and up on a straight arm. So these are all really, I don't know if advanced, but difficult variations. And you want to make sure that your client is ready for that. We'll quickly do a couple of things for back support. I like working with a prep variation with the feet bent, with the knees bent, I guess, and the feet on the floor. So we lift up. I keep looking forward, and I want to press the hips as high as I can. It's really important to check where your weight is. If you look now, if your client goes back here, they're going to feel like they're falling back. They wouldn't really be able to work properly. So make sure their weight is between the arms and the legs, and they're using their leg muscles and their arm muscles to lift as high as possible. I'm going to quickly transition into the one leg. So we lift up, stretch the leg, and you can either hold it or go down and up on one leg. That can be quite challenging for a lot of people. Okay, I'll do the other side quickly. Going down and up. Make sure their pelvis stays level. You don't want them dropping one side of the pelvis. And finally, we'll do a little transition. It's got a name in yoga, I think, which I forgot at the moment, but I picked it up in a yoga class a long time ago. So we transition between going forward and pulling back and lifting up. Forward, lifting the hips up, just like before, and then pulling through, trying not to touch the ground. You can see I'm on the heels. I try not to lock the elbows, and I lift up with a round back. It warms you up a lot. That's it. I hope you found it interesting. I hope it will be beneficial for you and your clients. Please remember, you can always write some comments or questions, and we'll answer them as soon as we can. Have a good day. See you soon.